I hope for you. I was so
Okay, so we are recording. Um, all right, this particular podcast is going to talk about Po and Hun.
mm,
So,
mm.
do Taoists believe in a soul or a spirit?
Both, and it's not what a lot of people think. But okay, so you have a corporeal soul, corporeal self, and that's Po. He's generally a tiger, lives in the lungs. Po is sort of that baser animal self. So he's like, you'll generally find Po ordering cookies, blow, and naps on the daily. Like, so like, can we like get a line of blow off a dead hooker and some cookies before like a nap or something? Whatever. Po is the one that is the result of what you eat and drink and rest and sleep. Plus, you have the reptilian brain, you have the mammalian brain, mesobrain, all those things, partial view. That's very instinctual. That's
Po
very
is a part of ourselves. It's inside us somewhere.
it's the corporeal part of you, right? So when somebody's afraid, they have a physical reaction to it. And they do right. That's Po. Po's responsible for that. That's that aspect of you. Po is Po and Hun are dual aspects of the same thing, right? And so neurally, you could say the mesobrain and the reptilian brain or the brainstem, that's Po. Those are the ones that want to eat, sleep, screw, fight, flight. That's it. It's the one that has reactions that, when you're in a car accident, you do that. All of that, that's all Po. So
And
one,
is Po, would you say, compulsive or just instinctual, or
yeah,
in those? Okay, okay.
yeah. Po's like, if it's
So
in my
addictions,
head,
are addictions Po?
yes, yes. And it's generally Po, but for the reason that people don't think. Hun, by the opposite polarity, is your etheric soul. So it's you at the absolute highest potentiality. That's Hun. So where Po's like, you know, people are like, women and children are first. Po's like, fuck you, I'm out. And he's hoarding and there's finite and leave me alone, right? But that's very, right. We're a species of simian. We come from the great ape family and blah, blah, blah. And so a lot of those tendencies that we carry forward evolutionarily is Po, right? Those are all Po. And sometimes it's useful, right? So if there's a situation you cover your kid, that's Po. Hun is the one that is the partial of you that's more actualized, and that's capable of actualization. Hun is the one that says, just because I can doesn't mean I should. And there are 4 donuts there on the plate. Maybe I have 1. Po's like, what do you mean, fat, salt, and sugar? Fuck you. It took me 200,000 years to get here. I'm eating it. But
Is it like the two devils on the shoulder? One is,
exactly.
so they
Exactly.
fight with each other?
Well, you can look at it as fighting, but it isn't. It's polarity, right? You have the positive and negative poles, and they create a tension, and that tension is what you call your life. And so Hun is the one that says, maybe there's another way. Maybe there's a win-win. Maybe it's not a zero-sum game. Maybe there's a positive-sum game. Maybe if by learning to sacrifice for today, we can have a better tomorrow. Maybe thinking of somebody else is the real key to working on my own shit. Maybe, you know what I mean? So you could say that where Po is the midbrain and the mesobrain and the brainstem, you could say the Hun would be the prefrontal cortex, which is usually the hardest and most developmentally, it's the hardest one to actually form.
Right. It's the latest to blossom in the brain.
Right.
So is one of the things that we're trying to do here is to develop our Hun.
Yeah.
How would you do? So, well, before we go there, so I know there's like 10 souls. right?
Mhm.
And it's just interesting that Taoism talks about soul. It's almost like in Christianity, they talk about the devil, or, you know, the spirit, I mean, the angel and the devil. Explain how this is different than Christianity, or like Christianity in that way.
So Christianity has anthropomorphic, disseparate concepts of entities, whether it be devils or angels or demons or.
Okay, say that in English.
Christianity makes it separate from you, makes it outside of you.
Okay, all right,
And
all
the
right.
characteristic of man, right? What's the old saying? Man made God. God made man in his image, so man turned around and returned the favor. The same thing with the devil, kind of thing, right? Anciently, the devil was never considered to be something with a bifurcated tail and pitchfork and horns. It was your mind, the conscious logic, discursive mind, and the heart was the Shen. The God was your heart. It was inside of you. It was that personal divine spark. The Ruach Kadosh is what the Jews call it. But today, and in many people call mine, it's something separate from you. There's a God out there. There's a devil out there. They've got hate for us. In sort of everyday Taoism, they still kind of have these thoughts, and that's a lot more Chinese folk religion than anything else. And I don't know an abbot that will go on record saying, no, it's all you. And most of them are like, no, 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 because they don't want to be. Some of this stuff you just don't talk about. I don't give a fuck enough, so you call my mom, I don't give a shit. But it's in you. You have different aspects. So if I take a diamond and I pass a light, the light will fractal. Still one light, but you have many fractals of the same light. This is what all of these Po's and Huns are. The 7 Po and the 3 Hun are the different aspects. So why are there 7 Po's? Eating, sleeping, resting, relaxing, playing, intimacy, and drinking. 7 Po's. These are the 7 things that the body's constantly craving and needs as foundations. And so if you don't eat, what happens? You get hangry. You get a roaring tiger. When it's rut season, just pushing forward genes, man. If you don't drink enough, if you don't rest enough, if you don't sleep enough, you got an angry Po. And the more you try to repress that tiger or suppress the tiger, the more powerful and more vicious it becomes. It needs intimacy. It needs relaxing, playing, all of those things. Hun is an ephemeral creature, so it has a yin and yang aspect to it. So it needs certainty and variety, connection, significance, growth, and contribution. Now, those aren't historical Taoist words. I put those psychological words there.
And slow that down. Say that one more time. Slow it down.
Certainty and variety. Certainty is about you. Variety is about the outside world. Connection is significant. Connection is about you. Significance is about you. Connection is about the outside world. Then growth and contribution. Now, those again they're not Chinese Taoists. Those come from psychologists by the name of Chloe Madonna, who I think the world of. But they stay fit. They're great modern words to explain the very thing that Taoism was trying to explain. It's not that easy. And so you need these 6 aspects of the 3 Hun. Now, here's the way that you can get this sort of abstractly, but understanding it. Tigers have 4 claws. Claws represent, or they're a symbol for something. They're a symbol for strength and skill. So Po tigers have 4 claws. There are 3 types of dragons. There's an earth dragon. He's got 3 claws. So if you got 3 claws versus 4 claws, Po's kicking Hun's ass every day of the week. So what do you gotta do? You gotta raise your Hun until it gets a 4th claw. So it goes from being an earth Hun, which is this little small Mulan dragon, to get him to at least the same size as Po. So now you got these 4. There'll be tension, But the spiritual dragon has learned something that the earth dragon didn't know, which is if you keep Po laid, fed, rested, and all, you can scratch his belly, and he's he's fine. Piss him off and withhold Po's needs, or be like, I don't need that. I don't care about that. You're a lying bitch. That tiger needs everything the tiger needs.
So
And
it's what you're saying is that, like, if somebody is hungry, they're not going to be thinking about the higher realm of.
right. Maslow tried to explain that. Jung tried to explain that. Hell, I think even Freud tried to explain. Right. Freud said something. I'm not a big fan of a lot of Freud's works, but that doesn't mean he didn't say some true things. One of the things he said was all mental illness, and I would say all illness, it comes from repression. You're repressing something. And in this particular case, you repress Po, you're fucked. Because he is a tiger. The reason why the Chinese use that symbol of a tiger is it's dangerous. It's to be respected, even feared if you don't do right by it. And it's predatory, and it'll sneak up on your ass, and you think you got that shit licked. There's a guy who fucked over a tiger, did something to it, he left and went home. That tiger tracked his ass down 1,000 miles and killed that son of a bitch. Don't fuck with the tiger.
They're vindictive.
Yes. Yeah, mm-hmm. So that 4-claw dragon, there's a greater chance. But if you can really grow to be the 5-claw dragon, the celestial dragon, then it always has the ability to. It doesn't control Po. It influences it. The celestial dragon has learned the power of influence. Mm-hmm. You can influence your body. Yes, you're born with certain DNA and certain genetics. Yes, you're born with certain predispositions. But if you know that, you can create a life around your Po's needs and respect your Po's position. But most people don't. They live completely irrespective of their Po and then wonder why they're a fucking mess all the time. They do. Well, you understand, with all my schedule, I don't get enough sleep. I don't get enough food. It's like, why would you make a schedule like that in the first place? Well, I didn't have a choice. You always have a choice. Believing you don't have a choice tells me where your Hun is. There's always a choice. Because if I take people, and I've done this for years, of people come to see me, I just can't get rid of my addiction. All addictions come to one thing: connection. You are missing true and absolute vital connection. And so people are like, well, that's a Hun thing. No, it's a Hun and a Po. Po needs intimacy. And when people deny Po its intimacy, what do you think is going to happen? And intimacy can be sexuality, but intimacy can also be having an honest, close conversation like you and I've had, right? Deep, that's good for Po. And people don't. They're not intimate because intimacy requires vulnerability. They have that intimacy with themselves, for God's sake. And so they've repressed their Po. And their Hun is completely impotent. And so the truth is, to be a celestial dragon, you have to learn to influence. You can't influence somebody you're judging. And you can't influence somebody until you know what's already influencing them. And so what does Po need? Well, my Po needs chocolate cake. You know what? How about give Po a fucking chocolate cake? There's a good token. And while you're doing that, why don't you tell Po some of the things you need? You're liable to have peace tokens. You're liable to sit there and say, does it mean you indulge Po every time with cake? No. But sit down with yourself and say, is one piece of cake going to cause my whole life? Or are you in a pissing contest for your will? And I will not give. And you're just that curmudgeon married to that damn shiksa over there, whatever. You gotta like we said before, Oprah's the answer. You gotta get Po and Hun some marriage counseling. You gotta be honest about your needs.
It sounds like what you're talking about also is that in any relationship, two people come together, and if their Hun and their Po are out of balance, it's going to affect the relationship.
Yep.
You have anything that advice you can give around?
Yeah. So relationships are very difficult to explain, especially in a short bite. This would take, when I do relationship seminars, which I actually do, Taoist relationship seminars, they usually take maybe 2 8-hour, maybe 2 10-hour sessions. It's deep. It goes. But I'll give you a very short version of it. Is that when you walk into a relationship with somebody, what you should do collaboratively is sit down and say, okay, let's say you and I we're in a relationship. We've been married 20 years, but we've really got to make this work. And so I say to you, okay, let's do something together first. Let's do it. You write down everything that you feel is an ideal relationship. And I'm going to write down everything I feel. We're going to really create this. And we're just going to rip off, suspend belief, and we're going to say we live in Bali and all, whatever. We're going to do all the things. And we do that. We get ourselves feeling really good. We got Po so excited because we're connecting and we're getting intimacy and we're probably touching no parts. And Hun's over here and getting some variety. It's great. And then we need to look at this back and forth with one another, and we need to say, honestly, for what I wrote for me, what you for you, what kind of man do I need to be to make this possible? Not what kind of woman do you need to be? What kind of man do I need to be? And then you need to look and go, what kind of woman? Who do I need to be as a person to make that? Because that's what you need to work on. You need the other person to change, and then that's bullshit. It's a fool's errand. Who do you need to be? If you thought about all the things you think is a perfect life and they were here in your life right now, you'd be fucking miserable because you're not the person who can enjoy them right now. You think, well, if I had them, I'd be happy. Nope, you'd be the same miserable goddamn curmudgeon. Why? Because you haven't made an honest relationship with yourself. Your own Po and Hun are not in balance. And so somebody else's Po and Hun being out of balance is going to complicate it. So what do? Well, it's simple. You first have to come to accept your Po as it is. Maybe your Po is horny all the time. Maybe your Hun likes Hallmark movies and needs to feel that, maybe. Whatever. Okay? Accept that person for where they are and have that core trust and respect. Let them be who they are. You be who you are. Balls to bones. That right there, core trust and respect. But if you don't respect your Po, if you don't respect your Hun, you're damn sure not respecting somebody else. So you have to be honest, radically honest of who you are. And you have to be who you are because that's in fact who you are. In some cases, that means that you can't be together because you never really understood that people are like chemistry. It's just chemistry. Some elements are not compatible. They're volatile together. Some are very compatible and very philic. Some degrade over time and become incompatible. Some people degrade over time and become very compatible. It's exactly the way chemistry works with elements. Humans work in relationships. It's the way. This is part of the way. But you have to respect for that. You must respect those rules. You must respect those processes. Remember the process of processes. And as you're going through whatever you go through, I need to love you and support you. I don't have to like it. I don't have to condone it. That's not the point. The point is it's your path. And I have to be there for your path. But if I'm not there for my own path, I'm never going to be there for you. So I must accept myself first. If I accept me, I can accept you easy. But this is where you start to go. Where people generally get together is maybe I'm a lot Po, well, maybe you're a lot of Po too. So now we're drinking buddies. Now we're friends. But there's no polarity there. Maybe you're a really lot of Hun and I'm a lot of Po. And so, okay, well, there's some good polarity. That'll keep us together. But the problem with that is you're never going to get to be Po. You're going to always have to be Hun. Mm. You're going to be like, well, I'm not getting a full experience here. Maybe I want to be Po sometime. It's like, well, that's not how this works. This is why you have to have it equally within yourself, right? You can say this in another way from Po and Hun, male and female, right? Let's say in the relationship, I'm the male, you're the female, not man and woman, but maybe I'm the masculine energy, the feminine energy. We're going to have attraction. We're going to have chemistry. But some people, let's say you're more masculine energy, so much. So now we're drinking buddies and smacking backs and how you doing? Or maybe you're very, very feminine and I don't want to upset you and I want to be an ally and I want to be there for your empowerment. So I modulate and come down yin, become feminine. And now you're like, I mean, you're nice, but I like
Let's
you to,
just be friends.
I like you to pull my hair and bite my neck, and you're kind of, it's like being married to a chick, and I better go find that guy and bang him, right? So you've got to maintain this polarity.
Yeah.
Sometimes the woman is masculine, the man is feminine, and it goes back and forth, and that's all good. But you have to maintain the polarity. But more importantly, you've got to maintain the polarity within yourself.
It does seem very difficult to balance the Po, partly because Po has so many addictions, but so many needs and so many wants, and we have so many ways to distract ourselves, like being on YouTube until 2:00 in the morning, not getting sleep, and junk
Sure.
food, whatever.
Sure.
How can you use your Hun, or how can you develop your Hun enough so that it can help to balance your Po?
I found a couple ways to do this, and I'm going to advocate this again. If you're self-indulgent and it's always about you and how can I, you're going to be chasing you're going to be going around your elbow to get to your asshole. You're going to be chasing shadows. If you have a really hard time with any particular thing, go find somebody else who has that hard time and help them.
So like 12-step programs, that's what they do, right?
Yep, can be. Yeah, can be. But for example, if I know that I'm on my phone or too much or whatever, I'm going to go help children. Can't be on my phone and help children. And I'm going to teach them. I'm going to make food for them. So I'm getting food for myself. And I'm getting everything I have to do when I'm actually getting into helping somebody else's life and not in my own head. I have to take care of myself along with them. Do you understand?
Right, right.
But then the trick is you have to make it a habit. You have to ritualize. When people tell me, okay, can you give me a good Taoist cultivation? Like, I want to do this really deep. I'm like, how deep do you want to go? They're like, oh, I want to, like, it's far down. Like, whatever you think of it, you're the abbot. I'm like, do you want to go to straight bum dope diggity down levels? Get some down. They're like, okay. I'm like, get up in the morning and pee. And I want you to stretch your goddamn body. Then I'd like you to touch your no-no parts until they become yes parts. Then I want you to put food in your fucking mouth. Good food. Then I want you to drink a quart of water. Then I want you to go evacuate your bowels. Then I want you to take a shower and go the fuck to work. Then I want you to actually say kind things about yourself and other people. Then at lunch, I want you to shut the fuck up, and when you're eating, actually pay attention to what you're putting in your mouth. Then I want you to notice 5 things about somebody that they would never see about themselves and tell them that. Then I want you to actually get some work done. And then when you're done, I want you to meet up with some friends and listen to them. Don't talk. Listen to them. Feel who they are as people. Don't go on a commensurate binge of all the bullshit you hate in life. Say something nice, like you have nice areolas or whatever. You do you. This is my process. Then I'm going to meet with some friends, or I'm going to be at home, whatever. I'm going to make a really nice meal, something beautiful. I'm going to put something uplifting in my fucking head. There's a good chance there's some no parts involved. And I'm going to go the fuck to sleep. Repeat. You do that. That's a Taoist cultivation. And people go, this sounds like life. Right. You should be cultivating a life. It's like when people eat a diet. I'm going to eat this till I lose weight and I'm going back to Burger King. No, goddammit. Diet means that way you're going to eat forever. Cultivation means how you're going to live forever. If you're like, I mean, I did an hour of meditation. But if you were a dick for 23 hours and then did an hour of meditation, you're full of shit. Shut up. No, 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 that doesn't count. You're not woke AF. Shut the fuck up. You cannot be an asshole for 23 hours and be like, I sat my little lemon on my zappa. It was so nice, eh? You can't do that. Literally shut the fuck up. Build your life around these habits to eat, drink, rest, relax, play, intimacy, and sleeping, and then certainly variety, connection. Build your life around that. Addictions fall away. Build your life around that. Anxieties fall away. Phobias fall away. You might notice toxic friendships fall away. You might notice weight falls away. You might notice self-recriminations fall away. But, I promise you this. You have this from a Taoist abbot who would never lie to you because I don't give a fuck enough to lie. If you put your bullshit down, right, you take all your bullshit and you put it down and you start doing this. If at any time you just feel so much need to go get your bullshit, I just miss my bullshit, it will be exactly where you left it. I guarantee you, no one's stealing your bullshit. Your fucking bullshit will be there forever and ever. So if you're like, what if somebody take my bullshit? No one wants your bullshit. You don't want your bullshit. They sure the fuck don't want your bullshit. It'll still be there. So if you're like, sometimes I just really feel like being a neurotic mess was my life ambition. Your neurotic mess is right there. Woody Allen has shown you the half-life of neuroticism is eternal. Don't worry, you're good. But try what I call a mind fast. What's a mind fast? I'm glad you asked, friend. A mind fast is where you say, for the next, you can do 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, whatever your deal is. You do you. I'm not going to allow a negative thought to take root in my mind. Doesn't mean you're not going to think your thoughts, you will. But you're not going to. So if a negative thought comes up, once you become aware of it, just discard it. Just discard it. And then put something positive there. It can be anything like, oh, it's a beautiful green. Or it doesn't have to be grando. Or, oh, I really like the way my hand looks there. Or whatever. For 3, 5, 7, whatever days. One day. One day. See how your life changes. The first thing you're going to notice is that your life's going to get worse. And the reason why is because you're going to realize just how fucking toxic your dumb ass really is and how ungodly the sewage that runs through your fucking head is. But that you're spending all day going, oh my God, I'm thinking another fucked up thing? Yep. Thinking another fucked up thing because you fucked up. But the more you do it, have compassion, have some humor. Because as soon as you become aware of it, you can do something about it. The problem is not that you become aware of it. The problem is that you lived your whole life and you weren't aware of it. And that's where we go wrong. Because you fill yourself with these things. So go on a mind fast. Do 12 hours. I don't care, 30 minutes. I don't care. But try it and see just how much better your life gets after 7 days when you've checked at the door. Then you walk in, you're like, oh my God, what is she? Wait, nope. She's a beautiful person who she is. Wonderful. Thank you. That's good. You're good right there. It doesn't matter that you had the thought. Just become aware of it, right? This is kind of a Buddhist thing, right?
How do you know how to set priorities? Because you laid out, the perfect day. How do you know what's the right thing to do at the right time and how to set the priority of what's really important?
This is the kind of thing that gets to know thyself, right? This is the whole thing about knowing your nature. You are a person. Are you a person that gets amorous in the morning or at night? Or both? Are you the type of person who eats breakfast or not? Are you a person who needs a nap in the day or not? You have to know yourself. So you'll experiment, you'll play it, right? I recommend people play with themselves often. I think it's an important part of the process and learn to play. And you go, okay, well, in this case, I'm going to lay out this. And you sort of go, this doesn't work for me. I'll try this. And you sort of play with it. And you figure it out. But this is where you find your nature. Maybe you're more a nocturnal person. Maybe you're more, diurnal person, whatever, right? It just depends on you. Once you know your nature and your rhythm, respect that. Start to make your life around that rhythm and nature. And be always understanding that that nature is going to change, just as fall and spring and all changes. Your nature will change throughout your life, meaning the expression of your nature, not your nature except but the expression of your nature. Right? A young girl and a 50-year-old girl have the same nature, but they express it very differently. And so respect the changes of seasons, respect those, but understand that you must respect first and foremost your nature, because following your nature and respecting your nature literally is the most selfless thing you can do. It's the kindest thing you can do to the world. Because when you're your best self, you're giving your best self to the world.
That makes sense. What about so when we're talking about Po, we're talking about the appetites that Po has. How do you, and I also want to connect this with Shun because we talked about in the other podcast about the Shuns, the spirit being disrupted by thoughts and things. So how do you combat those negative feelings or feeling guilty or feeling shameful or feeling like because you're not perfect, you're getting on yourself? How would you
So
combat?
Shen is often considered the emperor, the empress, the monarch of your world. And so what is a good emperor or empress known for? The answer is their judgment. They make judgments. And so how do you do that? Well, first you must train your Shen not to be so goddamn judgy. Bunch of judgy McJudgerson, asshole. And that's what people are. They're judgmental. Po looks at a woman and goes, "Man, I'd like to beat the brakes off of that." Don't get mad at Po for that. That's what Po's supposed to do. That's good, Po. Doesn't mean you gotta say it. Doesn't mean you gotta act on it. But everybody's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you do it." Shut the fuck up. You're in a book. That's what we're supposed to do. If the minute a man does not look at a woman and want to gobble her, that woman's gonna be pissed. Well, why doesn't he want to gobble me? What's wrong? Well, it's so stupid. There's no woman in the world that doesn't want a man to want her. That's a bullshit lie. Kiss my ass. Even though the ugly. Okay, but you can't judge Po for that. You can't judge Hun for being like, no, we should give this to other people and not ourselves. You can't judge Hun for being a martyr or anything. The problem here is judgment. They both have their nature. And that nature is only where it is because of where they are in their cultivation, where they are in their process. But every single person is just in a place at one moment in a process. It won't stay that way. But if you judge them for being where they are, then they're never going to grow. No one grows because of punishment. No one grows because of condescension. People grow when they have a space to try things on and see, does this work or not work? And they going through biological and psychological processes that maybe at this time in your life, you're like, I don't know why, but I want to eat everything in the kitchen. Okay, well, that's okay. Not, I'm just a stupid whore. Why am I fat cow? What? Hey, Dick, stop it. 99% of our species died of starvation over all these centuries. Your ass is worrying about having too much food. On behalf of all the dead generations past, fuck you and the horseshit you rode in on. Asshole, ingrateful bitch. That we have a problem with eating too much is not a problem for most of our species. Most of our species are like, we did it, we did it. We're over here going, Jenny Craig, Jenny Craig. Asshole. Bitches. Assholes, man, just assholes. I wish I was smaller. Now, when your ass gets a chronic illness, you won't, and you can't keep weight on your ass, and you're dying of malnutrition. People are assholes. They don't really understand. They're too judgmental. Stop judging. Po wants what Po wants. Hun wants what Hun wants. Shen is the arbiter to know what's the priority. Maybe the priority is to deal with Po. Maybe Po's needs are first. Maybe Hun's needs are first. Shen is supposed to have the discernment to know one way or another. But if Shen is, Perez Hilton over there talking bullshit about what someone's wearing and how fat their ass is or whatever, then what do you expect? Self will run riot. The people in the goddamn, insane asylum have the damn keys. You gotta put them under the rule of the benevolent emperor or empress. You have to. It's no other way. But to do so, you got to take responsibility that there are times in your life when you're just going to want your hair pulled and your neck bit. That's just going to fucking happen. And there are times in your life where you want to be respectable and you want to wear your spectacles and you want to be known for your academic. Okay, that shit's going to happen too. Fine. Roll with that shit. Your life is big enough. And so this is another thing I want to get across, especially with Po and Hun. Your internal universe has to be big enough to house all of it. If your internal universe is not big enough to have a licentious tiger and an altruistic dragon and a selfish petty tiger and a know-it-all fucking dragon, if it's not big enough, then you're not working it, right? You mentioned the other time about Tao of Po. Think about Eeyore. Eeyore is a manic, depressive, cynical, jaded, just fucking asshole. Just okay. And yet nobody tried to make him stop. No one went and took his ass to the shrink. No one put him on Paxil. They were just like, well, that's Eeyore. Fuck him. Let's just hang out with him. And Piglet's a neurotic mess, probably doing blow like every. Oh, he's always paranoid and anxious, Rabbits running around on coke, regrouting the tile and shit, just all crazed out. Freaking owls over there on ecstasy or freaking, DMT. I see this and pontificating and shit. Then you got Pooh's just like, all right, well, that's who they are. Fuck them. It's the most non-judgmental person in the world. Just let him do what he does. Let people be what they are. Just because you accept it doesn't mean you condone it, and it doesn't mean you indulge it. But you have to have room enough in your world for it. People who are so afraid all the time and so narrow, there's no room for Hun, there's no room for Shen, there's no room for those things. And therefore, their life is so small and constrictive and they feel neurotic. Lighten the fuck up. Let go of the muscles in your ass and let it relax. Stop puckering and let things flow. This is the way. This is the way.
Does the Tao care?
Nope, not a fucking bit. Not a goddamn bit. Right? Universes are being ripped apart. Supernovas are either turning into black holes or white dwarfs. Fucking mommies, puppies, and babies die every day. No, it's not like that. The Tao is the amalgamate aggregate of all things thinking their thing simultaneously. And everything that you think is good and beautiful exists because of everything you think that sucks, just like yin and yang. And so if you're like, we need to get rid of this, you get rid of that, you get rid of everything. You're never getting rid of shit. How about instead finding the balance, learn to accept and integrate shit? You got all these felons, you got all these criminals in jail. I'm not saying you have to live with them. I'm not saying you should bring them into your house per se. But what if you just did one radical thing and stopped demonizing people? What if you stopped looking at the pedophiles saying he's a monster, we should kill him? I'm not up for pedophilia. I'm not defending pedophilia. But the pedophile is a human that's got something obviously real fucking wrong with them. And we don't understand that mechanism. And nobody's going to ever find out the fucking mechanism if we keep vilifying them and just shooting them. Because they're never going to stop being made. No matter what you do, they're always going to be there. Why? Because they're humans. And humans can be wired a million fucking ways that we don't understand the mechanism. But you're never going to understand the mechanism. You're never going to learn to understand and appreciate the world you live in if you constantly vilify and demonize every goddamn thing that you don't like. Grown-ups sometimes have to deal with things they don't like. As a dad, my sons pooped on me, they peed, they got up and they vomited, they did all these things. You know what? Fuck it. That's part of life too. Poop and pee and vomit. Right? There are going to be killers. There are going to be pedophiles. There are going to be rapists. There are going to be people. But there are people first that went really fucked up somewhere, and their biology, neurology, psychology, there's a lot of things. And my advocating is not to just let them do whatever. I'm not that way. But my advocating is how does somebody shut the fuck up, sit down, and say, all right, we got to figure this out, and stop vilifying them, stop demonizing. You can demonize what they did. You can say that's fucking heinous. I'm not advocating the behavior, but that's an actual human being that you're going to be no closer to getting to what you state your goal is as long as you keep trying to kill them. That's Po and Hun under the rule of Shen.
Does Taoism look at something as sinful? Is
Mm-mm.
there the word sin in Taoism?
I mean, yes, in the scriptures there are because of the Buddhists. Buddhists use the word sin even though they shouldn't. There should be no word for sin in Buddhism. But Buddhists fucked up Buddhism just like everybody fucks up their whatever. I mean, everybody does, I suppose. But no, not that way. The concept of sin, the closest thing you could have is just denying your nature. I mean, that's the closest you could have. Like, no, I'm not that way, but you know you are, and you try to go against your nature. And again, people, there's a hard concept of nature because people are like, so if I feel that this in this moment you do, I should just do that. It's like, no, there's discernment. Remember, just because Po wants to do it, what does Han say? What if Han doesn't say anything? Well, then don't fucking listen to just Po by himself, or else you're going to get complete Po. I've done this whole experiment. It's a thing.
So, in terms of Jing and generative energy, how does Po and Jing work together?
Po has to be strong, right? So Po has to get enough sleep so that the luteal hormone and all the pituitary hormones, are generated. Po needs to eat properly so that its mineral balances and its amino acid profiles and proteins. Po has to move and exercise and play, so it takes the stress off of it. And it puts you stress on it, and it comes up with creative new ideas, which gets new dopamine and serotonin. These are all processes that build Po's robust constitution. First, let's take the kids from Columbine. Their gene was extremely low, and their Shen was extremely, because they were the black and they had this, I hate innocence and I want to kill innocence. But what were these people eating? What were these people sleeping? What were these people constantly going in your head? Same with the Sandy Hook kid. Same with a lot of these people. See, all these mass shooters. Their Po and Hun are really fucking disturbed because the shit they're constantly feeding. They're looking at all the media you talked about, the fear porn. They're constantly dieting on the hate. They've been hurt. I'm a monster. You're gonna be. There's a really great podcast if you ever want to listen to it. It's called it's by a guy named Aaron Stark. He was going to be a mass shooter. He was going to be a school shooter, and this is like 30 years ago. But he openly talks about how his parents were fucked up and everybody treated him like a monster. So he's like, well, I'll show you I'm a monster. I'm going to show I'll kill every one of you fuckers and have the cops kill me to show you just how much of a monster. And it's really heart-wrenching. And I really respect that guy. I mean, I have massive respect that that dude was really like, I don't care what you think of me. Fuck, I'm going to tell it because it needs to be told. And it was horrific. But you listen to the diet of this guy. He didn't bathe. He was smelly and he didn't eat very well. And he had slept out. And it was so bad at home because his dad was a Vietnam vet who used to rape him and beat him. Right. So think about the energy. Think about the physical processes of cortisol and all this stuff breaking the body down. His Jing and Chi, his Po and Hun are just fucking abused. So the Shen is going to be deranged. And in that case, I hate the fact that I was weak and innocent, so I'm going to punish weakness and innocence. I'm going to kill those kids. I'm going to punish innocence and weakness because that's what got me hurt. So I'm going to punish it, so it will never be weak and innocent again. And maybe I can prevent this from happening. It sounds great to a deranged Shen. We said he's a devil. It's like, not a devil. That fucker was hurting worse than any of those kids. But nobody wants to see them that way. They want to talk about their compassion. They want to talk about a lot of their bullshit, but no.
But we didn't talk about the drugs aspect to all of that as well, and how does that affect the Po and the Shen?
If you're numbing Po's needs so that you don't have to deal with them, the bill comes due. Simple as that. The bill comes due. Sometimes you need real meds to level shit out because you were born with an imbalance. That's not in, I mean, Chinese medicine use herbs, the same thing. But if you're using it to numb shit because I don't want to deal with it, the bill comes due. It'll come out sideways in some way. You know what I mean? You're posed low now, I can tell.
It is. Well, it's late, and I should probably let you get back to your life. Thank you, Lao,
I love her.
and blessings to you.
Hugs and kisses.
Good night.
Good night.